Well, I mean, I'm very tired, but apart from that, we want to know how the Prime Minister's doing. Well, she's being received pretty well, actually. There's obviously lots of pomp and ceremony. There's lots of staged PR events, as you might imagine. She's been inspecting the troops in the Great Hall of the People. It's all very impressive, that sort of thing. But I have to say that beyond the pomp and ceremony, I'm getting a sense that, you know, yesterday when she met Premier Lee, there is a genuine enthusiasm in meeting her. Lots of talks about this being the golden era of a relationship between the two countries. And while we might not see eye to eye on everything, that there is an honest feeling that they want to open up trade between the two countries, to open up sort of lots of discussions. She's made it onto the front of the China Daily, the state newspaper, as you can see there. Talks about boosting ties with the UK. But I have to say that on the TV news bulletins last night, literally not a sausage about Theresa May. She didn't make any of the news bulletins, which sort of surprised me. But then when you put it into context, you know, we are worth about China's worth £59 billion to us in trade, but China's about to embark on a $900 billion building project. So for China, we're a bit of a drop in the ocean, really.
We're a tiny little minnow, aren't we, in comparison? If the Brexit economic impact assessments are to be believed, Ranveer, and the economy is going to shrink as a result of Brexit, there's quite a big gap to fill. Can we do that with things like a new deal with China?
Well, look, I'll tell you some of the highlights that they are trumpeting whilst they are here, and you can make your own minds up with the maths. So there's an increase in sales of agriculture products that was mentioned yesterday. It's important, actually, because currently we do buy more from China than we actually sell to them. We're about £25 billion deficit where that's concerned. So it's good news. For example, British beef is going to now be back on the Chinese menu. You may not have known this, but there's been a Chinese ban on British beef since the BSE crisis more than 2 decades ago. And they're also going to say that they're going to take more dairy products from Britain. So agriculture is really important. He said, you know, the Chinese consumer deserves better, high quality products. So that over the next 5 years could be worth £500 million in British sales. Also important, and it's interesting because we might feel quite remote to when you're watching at home China, you think, well, you know, what does it matter to me if I'm sat in Scunthorpe? Well, it does actually, because you remember when there's a massive crisis in the British steel industry, lots of job losses in Scunthorpe, Teesside, lots of places around Britain. Well, it was because China was dumping lots of very, very cheap steel into the Europe market. That was mentioned yesterday in her talks with the Premier, and they agreed to reduce that production of steel by 100 million tonnes. As I'm speaking on the other end of the scale to the Whittards, you know, the tea company, the CEO was sat on the tarmac waiting to get on our next plane. And I said, don't tell me that you sell tea to China. He said, you know, we do. He said, we buy Chinese tea, we wrap it up in a British brand and we sell it back in. It's a massive market, because that just shows brand Britain is huge over here. It really is. You think about it, there's 155,000 students that leave China to come to British universities, pumping millions into the economy there. And that's why education has been a big theme here. Let's extend those kinds of commitments. But of course, the goose that lays the golden egg of a trip like this is a free trade deal. Now that, as you said, Susanna, cannot be signed or even negotiated until we leave Brexit. That could be 2021, but the groundwork is being laid.
Ranveer, the other thing that we must mention, of course, is the big gun that Theresa May has out in Beijing with her to entertain and enjoy the Chinese hospitality is her husband, Philip May. Has he had a high-profile role on the trip? And maybe if you want to get her on the news, that needs to be upped.
I couldn't quite hear what you're saying. I think it's a question about Philip May. So yes, he's here. The reason he's here, actually, we did ask this, what's he doing? Because he's got a business background. Will he be in the meetings? They said, look, you know, when President Xi came in 2015, he brought his wife. So the Chinese thought it honourable to extend that invitation. He, of course, accepted. He is at the moment on a cultural visit to the Great Wall of China. I could have gone, but I'm on the telly, so that's why I'm not there. But he's doing lots of cultural events. He went to the Chinese opera. He is going to be in a meeting with President Xi and his wife later on. And among the gifts that we are going to be giving to the Chinese is traditional on these foreign trips. We're going to be giving the Blue Planet DVD with a personalised message from David Attenborough to the Chinese, possibly to prick their conscience over the environment and pollution. We're also going to give a bespoke number 10 teapot and a set of mugs by Emma Bridgewater and a premium chess set from the British Museum, a metaphor perhaps for how trips like these really are a series of calculated moves. But let me put those gifts into context for you. So when President Macron, the French president, came here about a month ago, his gift to the Chinese was an actual horse from the cavalry, actually, called Vesuvius. So damn those French, trying to upstage us when it comes to gifts.
And
I'd rather have a box set, a Blue Planet, than a horse.
do people still watch DVDs?
Well, that was the thing. I was going to give the DVD player as well. Or maybe they can give it on sort of a Wi-Fi sort of, I don't know, a USB stick or something.
Or don't people just download? Oh, no, because maybe they don't have...
Yeah.